everybody.
Hello.
I'm supposed to say hi, everybody, first. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
And we're married.
That way.
That way. I'm going to try not to do this the entire time because I'm trying to look around the camera to make sure we're in focus and stuff. We are a knitting podcast.
What are we called, though?
Oh, yeah. We are Sweet Tea No Shade. Technically, I am Sweet Tea No Shade, and you're a hanger-on.
I'm just along for the...
You're my plus one. We're Sweet Tea No Shade, the Sweet Tea No Shade Knitting Podcast, and we're a knitting podcast. We are not...
A travel podcast.
A floss tube. Do you know what a floss tube is?
I do. It's about embroidery.
Oh, I thought it was just about cross-stitch. Maybe it's about both.
It could be. Needle arts.
Betty Ann, who's telling us about... my mother, Betty Ann, she cross-stitches as well as knits. And she was telling us about floss tubes that she watches.
Is it a site or just that's what they're called?
I think that's what their YouTube shows are called for cross-stitch.
I'm glad I know what that is because I would think it would be like videos of people flossing their teeth.
That would be... I bet there is a whole thing on YouTube about flossing your teeth.
Right. I don't know if
Don't Google that.
I don't know if I'd care to watch those.
No. So, we just got doing a bunch of yard work. It's that time of year, which I'm not complaining. I actually like, and I like doing yard... Oh, we've got the disco effect going on with that light again. Yeah.
Can you figure... That's like gonna... It's like gonna give me...
See, it's better now. I fixed it. So, we are here. We haven't been on in a long time. And I heard through Betty Ann, my mom, that Jessie, Dime Monkey Yarns podcast, like on one of her episodes recently, was like, please make more episodes, please. Betty Ann's probably exaggerating. I haven't watched it yet, but... I got in my head a little bit about doing the podcast because I was like, all of a sudden in my head, I was like, it was like my job or something, and like it had to be super professional, and I was like, okay, first.
And obviously, you've never watched one of our podcasts, right? Like we're barely scotch taped together.
Coherent. So I just got nervous and weird about it and didn't want to do it.
To be fair, it's also been a really busy last couple of weeks too, so we've had a hard time finding a window to do it.
That's
when
true.
we both felt like doing it.
That's true.
Because believe me, we don't do it when one of us doesn't feel like doing it.
All right. So, now that we're doing it today, I'm like, oh my god, I want to do this and I want to do this, and it's going to end up like a 9-hour episode, and then I want to start doing YouTube shows about this and YouTube shows about that, and focus. So. We've got a couple trips to talk about in yarn stores that we visited. We've got projects that we've been working on that we'll talk about. I've got some new needles. John was, I think both of us were asked to be test knitters for something, but you actually didn't. So there's that we're going to talk about, which neither of us have ever been test knitters for anything. So that was exciting. And then maybe future projects, and I'm sure we will completely stick to the agenda and not
fall off.
Go down a rabbit hole at all.
We never do that.
No. So, how should we do this? Let's start off talking about a project.
Okay.
A knitting project. And then let's each talk about a finished project, and then we'll jump into yarn store visits.
Lovely. I can start first.
Yes, you start first.
So, in the past, we were doing this thing called the Cowl Cow.
Yes.
And so I completed one already, but then in the middle of it, I was like...
That is... God, I forget how beautiful that is till you see.
So this is...
I'm going to show up-close pictures of
I know, I just need to... So this is called the Tesserino Cowl by Mari Chiba. And it was my... So, you know how you get obsessed at certain points with different techniques and stuff like that? At some point when I was researching cowls for our knit-along, I started becoming obsessed with mosaic knitting, which is a type of color work where you, instead of doing sort of stranded color work, you just carry stitches up from the back. I mean, so you carry stitches up, and slip stitches up. Yes. So I found this cowl, and I've talked about this before. Someone else on the knit along was knitting it, and I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun. And so I found the pattern, and I knit it with some yarn that I had lying around from Copper Corgi. They're both
I forget what her name is.
Ojiki.
Oh my god.
Ojiki? I don't know.
Okay. So in Georgia, and
Ogeechee?
Alabama would probably say that they have it too. I don't know, but there's a lot of Native American names to things, and I think
Ogeechee?
is it Creek Indians or
Cherokee? I don't know.
Yeah, I forget what exactly, but that's Ogeechee.
Ogeechee. Okay.
Ojiki. I like Ojiki.
Ojiki.
That's like the river that separates Georgia and Alabama is the Chattahoochee. I think. Is it the Chattahoochee? Now I'm doubting myself. And the creek that I grew up on was the Kinchafoonee. But did you know that?
The Kinchafoonee?
The Kinchafoonee Creek was the creek that, because our apartments were Creekwood, Kinchafoonee. Okay, we're totally diverting.
And you said you weren't going to do that.
I wasn't going to do that. This is a professional podcast, so.
So anyway, if you it goes like that, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see
This
all
is awesome.
all the color work. But yeah, it was really fun. Again, it's on the tiles is the kind of greenish blue one.
It's so, there's something about this pattern. So is the brown, is that the out on the tiles?
That's the out on the tiles, and
Okay.
this is the...
So everything that's dark on here is the out on the tiles.
Right, but the thing which is...
That yarn...
is gorgeous.
It's Copper Corgi. I don't know if I talked over John and when he said
Copper Corgi. The greenish blue one is on the tiles. The other one is... I don't know. I lost the tag for it, but...
but it was not Copper Corgi, was it?
Yes, they're both Copper Corgi.
Oh, okay.
So, what's nice about it is, I don't know if it's the way she dyes them, but they both kind of, at certain points in the way the yarn change, they kind of almost revert back to a same common point.
That's right.
And so you'd have these things where you'd be knitting it, and, obviously there's a pretty clear difference, but there's like times when sort of the different colors blend together. So, really great knit. I think the pattern calls for worsted weight yarn. This is sport weight yarn, and so to kind of make it not be super small, I cast on I sort of did some math and cast on 160 stitches versus 100, and it was super fun.
I was watching a different podcast yesterday. And who was I watching? Oh, it was the Bakery Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And she was showing a shawl? She was working on something, and it had a mosaic knit section to it. But maybe it was because it was in contrast to a section that wasn't mosaic knit. But it didn't look like a fabric like this because of all the slip stitches. This looks like you knit it. It doesn't look like you did a bunch of slip stitches.
Right. I think it's because the way the pattern's written, again, really well written pattern, Mari Chiba. Really well written pattern. I think the nice thing about it is because you're doing this sort of these sort of offset squares, you never slip a stitch more than 2 stitches.
Okay.
So you don't have... So if you look really...
you're not slipping it way up.
Right. So it just... You have a couple... When you look at it, and you can see which ones are slipped, but it's not so large that it makes a big difference. The other thing which is nice is when I was knitting it, because of both the slip stitches and the floats, even though I was doing my best not to, there's a little bit of puckering that happened, but once I blocked it, it came right out.
Oh, okay.
So it had a little bit of a...
Oh, there are floats in there.
Right, because there are some...
Because when you slip the stitches, the second yarn goes behind?
Mm-hmm. Because there were some... Like, there are some sections where you're knitting in a row, like a pretty long...
I wonder if... I might try to take a picture
Yeah.
of this and put it in.
Yeah.
I'll try to do that.
So it's a really fun pattern.
That's cool. I didn't ever, and actually I like the back of it too.
Right. So it's now
it's technically not reversible, but it kind of.
But
is
look at that.
reversible.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that really is. Even on the camera, it looks cool.
Hang on. Oh, that's awesome.
Yay.
Huh.
Who knew?
Who knew? I really like this. Because we were talking about the other day, like...
We've talked about your cowl for a long time now. Can we talk about something else? Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm in a mood to poke you and get you to react on camera. I'm sorry, what were you saying, dear?
Oh, nothing.
No, seriously, what were you saying? Go back to what you were saying. I was just teasing. Don't be Steve Dahl and be all like, I'm not going to tell you no because you made me mad.
You didn't make me mad. No, because I have a sweater like this that, it's right over there in our laundry pile.
Yeah.
That is the same sort of thing where it is, it's knit, but the float...
It's a purchased...
Right, it's a purchase sweater.
It's not...
Lord knows I've been my gun. Where it has the outside looks like this.
Yeah.
So, I love that.
And what's funny is I just thought it was a cool sweater, and then once we start knitting, I was like, oh my god, that's like the pearl side.
Right,
of
the wrong side of
the wrong side of a knitted sweater.
Yeah, so... Alright, I feel like I've said enough about my cowl, and maybe you should talk about something.
I can. I don't have to.
Oh, I know what you should talk about.
What?
Guess what happened to Scott since our last podcast?
Nothing.
He had a birthday.
Okay, I don't want to be one of those people.
How old are you?
Oh, God. I don't want to be one of those people who's all like, oh, I'm so old. You know, and I used to hear people talk about like, oh, I don't want to talk about my birthday, and it's like, now I get it. It's not that it's not about vanity. It's about death. So just saying, it's about death.
Well, that got
not
dark.
Wanting to die.
That got dark real fast.
I did turn 41.
Yes.
What do you think? I turned 42?
Maybe.
No, because I'm super younger than you.
So for 6 months of the year, I am 2 years older than Scott, and for 6 months of the year, I am 3 years older than Scott, and we are just entered that 2 year period, which is always super fun for me.
Yeah, whatever. So, so I had a birthday, and it was amazing, and John got a bed and breakfast in a room at a bed and breakfast in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is, Minneapolis and St. Paul make up the Twin Cities. It's one big metropolitan area. It's
with a river in between.
With a river in between. It's not really.
Sort of.
Yeah, it's not even. It doesn't. There's no border. I mean, there's no stop and then another one, and then space and then another one starting. And so, what was my point? Oh, you got a bed and breakfast at an old Victorian home in downtown St. Paul. Near downtown St. Paul, next to the cathedral. We have this beautiful cathedral in St. Paul. And so we stayed there, and then the big, life-changing experience of my birthday was that we got to see Shania Twain in concert. And I grew up absolutely loving Shania Twain. And it was the best concert that's ever happened, ever. I'm just going to say that. It was amazing. So yeah, it was the best. It was the best birthday ever, and that was thanks to John.
Right.
So.
And then we also did an escape room, which was also really fun.
We did an escape room. I don't know if those are popular. I wonder if that's a thing that happens in other countries.
Oh, I don't know.
I'd be curious to know if other people in other countries have escape rooms. It's basically they lock you in a room for it depends. It's 1 or 2 hours, and then you've got all these clues, and it's like not a scavenger hunt, but it's like you've got to
solve some puzzles, and each puzzle tends to bring you further down. It was really fun. We escaped early. We
did. We were escape room royalty because we did so well.
And it was funny because we brought... It's one of those things that's a really good test of group dynamics, and we had 8 people, so Scott and I and 6 friends, and we weren't sure whether we would all end up having, conflict,
murdering each other.
I know, we wouldn't get out of the room because we had all, But it was really fun. Everyone was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So,
all right.
And what was the... Okay, I know I'm forgetting, but... And you're going to kill me and get mad, blah, blah, blah. But what was the cake that you made me?
Oh, it was just a yellow cake.
Oh, that's right, but it was like the best yellow cake.
So it was from a Cook's magazine,
That's right.
where it was like, here's the best... it was a yellow cake with... Is it chocolate frosting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was like your basic yellow cake, but it was made from scratch, and they had all these little things like, here's how you know...
Yeah, the texture of the cake was amazing.
Right. It involved like folding in egg whites and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Happy birthday.
Thank you. So John's birthday is next, and it's in November. So.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll podcast between now and then.
Yeah. So, so finished project. I finished a pair of Rose City rollers, and these are using Zauberball Crazy yarn.
They got a cool little halo.
Yeah. I forget what the Zauberball... Oh, wait, I brought the... Here it is. I brought the tag. The Zauberball, it's made in Germany, and this is the thing that says Stricken kann... Something. Where does it say that? Stricken kann süchtig machen.
Which means knitting can
be addictive.
Knitting
can
an addiction make.
Can addiction make, yeah. Stricken kann süchtig machen. So it's 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon. So...
Those are super cool.
Yeah.
You're never going to buy ankle socks ever again.
I know.
Except for like the gym.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I've not knit. I mean, everybody talks about Zauberballs, but I had never knit one before. My friend Sonia really likes them, but I didn't know if it was going to be like, what is the word, like a repeat. I don't think there's a repeat.
But somehow you got no, it's not a repeat. But somehow they're close. Like because somehow you got your tops look the same.
Yeah, I mean they're different, but they're both
right.
The
they're
tannish.
both the tannish. So they definitely look like if you didn't look far away. They definitely look that it's the same pair of socks.
Right.
So I love them. They're great.
Yeah, but because there's like a marled. There's like solid colors, then there's like marled colors, and yeah, lights and darks. And I looked on their website, and there's like 50 different variations of Zauberballs.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm never gonna knit any. I mean, this isn't true, but it's like I'm never gonna knit anything except for with Zauberballs. But because I just love the crazy socks, and I've worn them like several times since I knit them, and absolutely love them. So, and the thing about these is that they have the Rose City roller pattern has the what's the word for that? The heel flap and gusset construction for the heel, and I like it. I like the way it feels better than an afterthought heel. And then I like afterthought heel just fine, but it's certainly easy and it's fun to cut your knitting and all that. The other thing is I put rounded toes in these socks instead of more square toes. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to find whatever. It's a rounded toe instead of a square toe, and I like that feel better as well. So I haven't memorized the rounded toe. I've memorized the square toe because it's the same thing. But with a rounded toe, you decrease slightly at first, and then you do a faster decrease to create that rounded toe. So, so it was a lot. I kind of, since our last podcast, I ended up with sock fever, and all I wanted to do was knit socks. And so I did those, and I've got some more to talk about and stuff like that. So
cool.
Yes. So now let's talk about our trip to Atlanta.
Yes.
So first of all, we did not do a
ambush
podcast with Eddie Ann. I do, as much as I give her crap, I do love Betty Ann and didn't want to make her uncomfortable. So, and I just didn't get her drunk
we
enough.
We didn't have like a good. We were pretty busy, and we did not
We were
have
very
the
busy.
opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I didn't get her drunk enough with the camera ready.
Right.
We had plenty of drinks.
Yeah.
But we did not have an opportunity to do that.
We didn't plan it as much as we could have, but
But it was vacation. That was the thing. Is
Right.
It was like all I want to do is like relax and have fun. The other thing too is that we spent a lot of time with Cody, from the Nurse Cody from the Cody Knitting podcast, and he's amazing. We just had the best time.
Mm-hmm.
He went out to dinner with us a couple times. We went to a mystery murder dinner theater thing. That was amazing. He took us to yarn stores. We just had an amazing time.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful trip. We, my mom and my aunt came, Aunt Helen and my mom, and we stayed at an Airbnb near downtown. Actually, the goal was to be near Cody's apartment, and we got to see Diamond. For those of you who watch Cody, he has a little dachshund named Diamond, and then of course we're both from Georgia, grew up in Georgia, but I think because my parents were not raised in Georgia, my accent is not as heavy. Sorry, Cody, but my accent is not as heavy as yours is, girl. But he has his dog, he pronounces it Diamond. And so we got to meet Diamond, which she's the best little dog ever. We got to see his really, really nice apartment in Midtown Atlanta. And
it was a really fun trip.
Yeah.
So we did go to yarn stores. So let's start with...
Yeah, we did go to yarn stores.
Should we start with the first one we went to?
Yeah, so was that the Craftivist?
Yes, it was. So...
Okay, so we went to the Craftivist,
which is super cute.
Oh my gosh. Super
it is...
cute.
So it's this really nice... I think they've been open for like 6 months.
Yeah.
They just opened. They're in this kind of really cool area of Atlanta, which I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's what is the word when it's like gentrifying? I know has a bad connotation sometimes, but it's kind of transitioning to be
kind of a little funky, like lots of little small coffee shops and stuff like that. It was really, really fun, and it's just this really cute store. They had really nice yarn, and the woman running it was great.
And then there was a guy there knitting, and I don't remember if did he work there, or was he just friends of hers?
He was I think a regular who liked to knit there.
Yeah.
He and I bonded about Stephen West.
That's right.
Shawls, and he had met Stephen West.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So anyway, it's a great little store. So one of the things that I got was this is not a floss tube thing, but it is a Salty Sailor embroidery kit.
I'll put in.
Yeah. So it gives you, and the nice thing about it, what it does is it gives you, as opposed to giving you a like a iron-on, it gives you the actual thing. I think. It is an iron-on. So it's an iron-on, but it gives you a really nice thing. Like here's which stitch you should use on which area. So I'm excited to make this. It's very silly, so that's great. That was my...
So, I'm sorry, John. I have to ask, because I'm taking notes over here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Salty Sailor embroidery kit, so it's a funny sailor pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But you can put it on...
Right.
I see. So, like, you embroider it on on this fabric.
No, that's the iron-on, I believe. And so you iron on the pattern, and then you...
No, this is linen cotton fabric with printed design.
Oh. I don't know. I haven't opened it yet.
So then you could, frame it or something.
Right, or...
It says one tattoo says mom and one tattoo says rum. So, okay.
Yeah, so that was fun.
I'm not quite understanding embroidery yet. So.
You know what? You're about where I am, too. It just looks
kind of... So it's Studio MME?
Yes, Studio MME.
You know what you could do?
What?
What would be really cool is if there was a way to, put it underneath a t-shirt or something, or somehow transfer it onto a t-shirt and embroider a t-shirt with that.
That'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how you do that.
I don't know. I'm sure there's...
Maybe you can scan it and then print it, because they make iron-on transferable paper.
Yeah, I also... I don't know.
Okay.
We'll figure it all out. Yay! So
Oh, and it's Studio MME is
Yep. Studio MME. Very fun.
Yeah.
And then I also got.
Oh, your sister's calling.
That's all right. Hopefully everything's okay. So then I got a
Madeline
Tosh.
It looks black, but it's
Right,
got
more-
blues and browns
Right.
and golds in it.
And I'm going to use that for I'll keep that around and show you. I'm going to use it for one of my project I'm working on right now.
And it's 100% wool, it's fingering weight, and it's, I forgot what I was going to say. 420 yards for 100 grams. Oh, the colorway, that's what I was looking for. Bittersweet.
Oh, lovely. So that's that. And then I also got, there was this, because I always like in the local knitter stuff. So this is from a local dyer called Republica Unicorn. And
Well, isn't it Republica Unicornia?
Oh, Republica Unicornia, my bad. And I just, they had a whole section of these. They're hand-dyed with love and some swearing in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's called BFL Sock.
Which is
Blueface
Leicester.
Leicester wool. And these colorways are, this is Starry Night, and this is...
This one, the bluish one is Starry Night.
And...
Wouldn't it be written...
Yeah.
Where this one?
This one is...
green!
Yes.
Let's call it green.
Green. But, really like it. Very cool. And one of the things we always like to do when we're traveling is buy stuff from local dyers. So that was really fun. Super fun store.
Yeah. And a really fun area of Atlanta, too.
Yeah.
So let's, let me dump mine out because...
Oh my god, did you buy all of that?
No. This is all my purchase stuff from recently. So the first thing I did was I bought some double-pointed needles because I needed some because I lost one or something. I don't remember. But I liked this. It's a Craftivist gauge.
Oh my god, it's got that whole thing that terrifies you.
Don't talk about that. Now you're going to trigger me. What was the name of that? Did I talk about that on the podcast?
Yeah.
On the last podcast.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's that, I can't remember the name of the condition now where there's holes and stuff and you don't
Called
like it.
made-up-ophobia.
It's not made up. So anyway, I liked this little... You can never have enough little crap like that.
You can never have too many things where you can like measure the size of your needle because
that's true.
they always disappear.
But we have like 10 of them.
Right.
So the one of the funny things about Atlanta that everybody jokes about is that everything in Atlanta, every street, everything is named Peachtree. And so this is from... I also got some sock yarn from Republica Unicornia, and this is the corner of Peachtree and Peachtree, which... Weren't we staying at like the corner of Peachtree and Peachtree?
Something like that.
I mean, it's hilarious. So it's coming out a little more red than it actually is, but it's very peachy and it goes all the way from almost yellow to purple and everything in between. So I just thought that was a beautiful color. Yay. So that was our first stop in Atlanta.
Right.
Then I think we got.
Then we went...
Was that the same day that we drove out? Okay.
No. We did the Craftivist like one day when we were driving around, right?
Cody wasn't with us though. I don't think when we went to the Craftivist. Cody wasn't with us,
right?
Because it was like the first day we were there or something,
right?
Or the second day we were there. But the day that we were with Cody, that we went and drove out to Eat Sleep Knit,
right?
And my understanding of Eat Sleep Knit is that it was a store in Atlanta, but they moved out into the suburbs.
Right.
And they took their warehouse space and made it their store, but most of their business they do online anyway. Right. I bought some stuff. You bought some stuff. Let's talk about the stuff you bought.
So I just bought a lot of one yarn.
Oh, that's right, because you're going to do a sweater.
I'm going to do a sweater with this. So this is called, it's Cake Decay.
That's the...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's from Blue Moon Fiber Arts, and it's called Antiquated System, and you're going to help me put this back when we're done. So that's what it looks like.
And it smells very sheepy
Yeah.
in a wonderful way. You smell it. Oh my god, it smells like a sheep.
Yes, it does. It smells like the barnyard. So this is what I'm gonna... So it's kind of a gray that goes into red and green. I don't know. Is that blue?
This is aqua. This is orange. No, I'm just teasing. There's like blues and purples. I mean, they're all very muted colors.
Right.
Like, this is orange. This
Right.
is purple. This is blue. This is green.
Yeah.
There's a brown.
So anyway, I got 3 skeins of this, and my goal is there's a sweater that I want
Hold
to...
it. You're holding it where it's like the hole is on. There you go. And pull it back a little bit.
Back?
A little like this.
You do.
Do you see it in there? I'm trying to hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it so people can see the color.
That's cool.
So, go ahead. What were you saying? What were you gonna
So
do?
yeah, it's going to be... I'm going to make a sweater with it. And I have a pattern picked out. It's in my queue somewhere.
What pattern is it?
It's...
If you don't know, that's fine.
No, it's... I've got my Ravelry account open for moments just like this. 39 cute. It's called The East Village by Josh Bennett.
Oh, Josh Bennett, that's right.
So it's just a sort of basic...
For those of you who like Josh Bennett patterns or know who he is, Christy Glass Knits
Mhm.
just had... Was that Christy Glass? Was that Josh Bennett?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She had an interview with him recently when there was some kind of knit night. Is that knit night that he hosts?
He's a part of it. Him and Brittany Maxwell.
I don't know who that is.
She's some person.
So anyway,
I
there's a really
forget who
good
she
interview.
is.
There's
Yeah.
a really good interview that she does with him if
Right.
you want to watch it.
Right. So that's going to be it's just a sort of basic. I think it's knit top down, and then it has slip stitches. There's a zigzag pattern on it. So that'll be fun.
Cool. So is that all you bought at Yarn?
Yes.
Yeah, we were trying to keep things under control. So
we mostly
so
succeeded.
it's a warehouse, but it's their store. I mean, we didn't really talk about that, but it's a warehouse. So you walk in and your head completely explodes because our local yarn store is Stephen B. And it's an old fire station, so it's huge.
Right.
But, I mean, he has an amazing selection. We walk into Eat, Sleep, Knit, and it's a warehouse. I mean, it's carpeted and air conditioned and everything. It's a very nice warehouse.
Right.
But oh my god,
There's so much yarn.
there was so much yarn. It was amazing. It was so much fun. So yeah, so we had a good time. I bought. Oh yeah, this is what I bought. So I bought 2 skeins of this yarn called. Sorry, should have had this a little better. It's Blue Moon Fiber Arts.
Oh, which is the same stuff I bought.
Well, yeah, because I think it's local to Atlanta.
Right, and that was
who they partnered with,
Right.
I think, for this stuff,
Mhm.
for their theme. Could be totally making that up, but I don't think I am. Is yours Targy wool?
No.
Okay, so mine is that, and the colorway is Molasses Swamp Monster. And I just realized something. Sorry, I'm pausing here. This is a little bit bigger than fingering weight. That's why things are weird. Okay, what I wanted to talk about with this yarn was a question for people. So, the reason I purchased this yarn was because I was going to take it, and I was assuming it was a fingering weight yarn. I think it's a little bigger than fingering weight because I've never knit with Targy, or targy wool, but it's 405 yards for 113 grams. So it's a little heavier than fingering
But not
weight
much.
yarn.
Fingering yard is what?
At least 400 yards for 100 grams.
Yes.
But see, I don't know.
That's not a whole lot.
It's not a whole lot, but I wonder if actually targy wool. God, I wish I knew how to say that. Targy. Well, I'm going to say targy. I don't know if that's right. Targy wool. I don't know. Maybe the fiber is heavier.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing I was going to ask was, I had gotten the impression from other people talking that you can take fingering weight, hold it double, and use that yarn to make a DK weight pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That was my understanding. So I've been holding it double and I'm swatching in the round because I'm going to do a hat. But the stitches are looking bigger to me than a DK. I mean, I haven't finished my swatch and measured yet, but it's looking bigger. It looks more worsted to me than it does DK.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious if there's a rule of thumb with that people know or whatever. But I'm going to keep going. But it just looks like it's bigger to me. So anyway, just
or you're
food
using
for thought.
big needles.
Well, I'm using the recommended needles on the pattern.
Oh.
They recommend this needle with
Where's
DK.
With DK?
DK yarn.
Okay.
And I'm using fingering held double.
Okay.
What I thought was fingering. It actually doesn't. I don't think it just has a gauge.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a like it doesn't call it something.
Huh.
So that was anyway, it's a very cool color. I didn't really talk about the yarn itself, but it's called Molasses Swamp Monster, and I think it was left over from the previous year's Candyland theme. So then we left there and we went to a little yarn store called Yarning for You.
Yarning for You. It's super cute. And I got two things there. One was this Louisa Harding Pitura yarn. And so Yarning for You was kind of like your more typical yarn store. The owner was in there leading a knit group. It was like small and cozy and really, really nice. And yeah, they had really cool yarn there. And so I got this. This is like a skein of, by the same people who make Crazy Ball. So this is Das Paar. Also says.
Okay, you mean the Zauberball people?
Yeah. By Sharpo. Schupo. Schappel, and this is called.
I think it's Schappel, unless there's an umlaut. I
No,
can't see.
no. Well, it's got a cat as the zero. So anyway, I got this because I thought this looked cool. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Probably make some socks if I can make myself make socks again. And then this, which is a 75% wool, and what's viscose?
I'm not exactly sure. I think we talked about that on the podcast before. It's just an artificial fiber.
Right.
I think we talked about that before.
So I like this, and I'll probably do this. What I'll probably do with this yarn, because it's really...
It's shiny.
It's shiny, and it's multicolored, is I think I will...
Hold it for a second.
I think what I'll do with this is I'll hold this with another yarn.
I feel like it would be drapey.
Right, so I'll hold it with a wool, so it has some spring in it, like a very sort of plain colored wool, and it'll really make it, all those colors will pop out really nicely.
Yeah. It's made in Italy.
Yes.
Les Demoiselles. Whatever that means.
The damsels, or mademoiselles, maybe? Wait.
No. The Demoiselle.
Well, you're the one who knows French.
I don't know the word demoiselle. Oh well.
So it
that was fun.
means something. It was, yeah, so we went to 3 yarn stores in Atlanta.
All I can think about is the fact that I had to go to the bathroom real bad the whole time we were there.
I know.
So I had to leave the store and go down to the grocery store.
So yeah, that was our trip to Atlanta. Very, very fun.
So Atlanta has 2 restaurants that are on the top of buildings that rotate. And so we ate at both of those.
Right. Although one of them wasn't rotating at the time.
One of them wasn't rotating at the time. But then we went to the other one, which is the Polaris, which is at the top of the, was it the Hyatt?
Sure.
And, oh my god, the food was like very gourmet, and it was excellent. And the inside of it was very mid-century modern decor. And that's around the time that it was built.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of...
Authentic.
Oh god,
it was
so
just funny
fun.
because it's it's a rotating restaurant, and you always think you're like going, oh, but like you're moving very, very slowly around for good reason, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just every now and then you look at like, oh, we're looking at something else. So that was fun.
And then the other one, excuse me, was at the top of the Westin Hotel, which used to be the tallest building in Atlanta. Like when I was growing up, it was the tallest building in Atlanta, but not anymore. The building itself is round. Then we did a murder mystery dinner theater, and that story could take a whole hour, but it was a lot of fun, so we had a good time. So then we got back, and then like a week later, I had to go to DC, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I went to DC for work. It was a conference for the type of work that I do. And it was the conference itself was in National Harbor, which is, the best way I can describe it is it's like conference center. There's a big casino there. There's a lot of shopping. It's a really nice area, but there's not really a town there. It's more of it's all kind of there as part of the DC metro area. It's technically in the state of Maryland, and it's across the Potomac River from Alexandria, Virginia. And then it's a little bit south down the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. itself. And so I took an opportunity to go seek out a couple yarn stores while I was there. And the first one that I went to was, I wrote it down, Fiber Space in Alexandria, Virginia. I'm going to put in pictures of this place. This was the cutest yarn store I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, from the outside, the inside was amazing too. But it has little sheep, like fake, I don't know, plaster animals out front that were sheep. And oh my god, it was the cutest store ever. So again, like John said earlier, when we travel, we like to buy local dyers. So I asked the local dyers that they have. And so I bought a couple skeins of Neighborhood Fiber Company, their DK, and the colorway is called Banksy, which John told me was a
graffiti artist,
which kind of makes sense because there's lots of blacks and grays with maroons and purples mixed in. What?
How does that make sense?
Well, I think about the blacks and grays being outside or being like the asphalt or the wall.
Okay.
And then
I wasn't making that connection.
Red is the color that they spray.
Okay.
I don't know.
No.
So, don't criticize my stream of consciousness weird associations. So anyway, I bought a couple skeins. My goal was to make a hat with this. Don't know what hat, but a hat. So I bought that there. They were very nice. So then from there I could pick up the Washington Metro, which is the subway system. And so I got on that and took that up to DuPont Circle, which is Washington, D.C. has a lot of... it's like a European city. It was designed by L'Enfant, right? Wasn't that the guy that designed Washington, D.C.?
Sure.
He's French. And so it has the layout of a more European city. And so it's got all these streets that radiate out from these circles, these traffic circles, or I think they call them roundabouts in the U.S. and then or in the UK. And so there's parks in the middle of these roundabouts, and so DuPont Circle was where I took the train to get to this other yarn store, which was called Looped Yarn Works. And so it was a really neat, it was a unique yarn store in that it was on the second floor of a building. And in DC, a lot of the buildings are pretty old in the city itself because it was all built, a lot of it was built, back around when the country was formed. And so it's kind of densely packed. And so this yarn store exists on the second level of this building, and so you go up the stairwell and you open up, and it's in the door. You open the door, and it's not a big space, but they've got a lot of yarn in this space. And the people there was a guy talking to the woman that was working there, and they were talking actually about the stuff that we were talking about on the last podcast about how to take a female or a sweater pattern that was written for women and convert it, or if need be, do you even need to convert it to for men. And so they were actually talking about that. So he and I got into a discussion, or the three of us got into a discussion. Again, I asked to see the local yarn, and I was blown away by some of the colors in this from this company.
Looped Yarn Work?
No, that's the store.
No.
Tempting You Yarns.
Oh.
And now that I think about it, I wonder if that was the store brand or not. I don't think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So Tempting You Yarns with EWE for you. This one is called Laser Space Cat. So this is, as you can see, it's got some crazy colors in it. It's kind of a black background color with yellow and green and blue and pink, and it's amazing. So I have unskeined this. I just haven't caked it up yet, but it's sock yarn. So that's that. And then I was also fell in love with this, which is Slytherin Smoke. So definitely a Harry Potter reference there. And so it's mainly gray, but then it's got this beautiful green section in it. So it's mostly, like I said, it's mostly gray, but then it's just that green. I thought that was just a beautiful green. So, and then it's the areas where it's green. It's got a lighter section, almost white, that starts and stops the green section. So I got those at Yarning for You. Wait, no, not Yarning for You. That was the one in Atlanta. Looped Yarn Works. So that, so then I went and saw the Museum of the Museum of American History.
Okay, I had a thought.
Okay.
So, one of the things I love about yarn stores is the names.
Yes.
So, just going around to different parts of the country and going to different yarn stores, and then even the ones that went to the Yarn Hop, is they always have really fun names.
Yes.
So, I just want, if anyone wants to talk about the best yarn store name they've gone to, let us know, because it tickles me, because you have, ones that are, silly puns, about, yarning for you, then, something like Lila and Claudine's and art. They're just always so fun, and they're always so,
That's
unique.
a good point, because it's not there probably is a store. As soon as I say this, there's going to be a yarn store, but it's not like Acme Yarns, it's
I would go to that store though. Right. They're all, the names are always very descriptive and very fun. So, they're kind of like drag queen names.
Yes. Because there's usually a pun involved.
There's usually a pun involved, and they're usually kind of clever and funny. So, so if anyone has, the best yarn store name, we would love to hear that, because it just, every time we go, it makes me laugh a little bit.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about a project that you have in progress?
Sure. We will talk about, because this ties in nicely to the shopping. So I've been working on this for a little while. This is my Doodler Shawl by Stephen West. And I can't remember where I was last time when we last talked about it. But here it is right now. So it is getting pretty big. So, and it's on, hang on. So the way it is right now, oh, there we go. So this is what it looks like right now. So this is it's got the three colorways on it right now. The Nitwit Quidditch pitch, and then I kind of ran out of, got really low on the Quidditch pitch, and so I did another, I did one of the wedges in the Sweet Artemisia by Nitwit. And then this is the cable section, which is at the top, which is in the Carolina Fiber Ghouls from Copper Corky. And I wasn't sure how this would knit up, and this Copper Corky Carolina Fiber Ghouls has exceeded all my expectations. I love the way it looks.
That's really cool.
And then, so I am about...
Who is this yarn by again?
This is Knitted Wit. Knitted Wit. And this is, which is the Sweet Orange. So the Knitted Wit is the wedge colors. I don't know if you can really see both the darker one and then this greener one. And I'm about, so there are, in this cable section, which is kind of a border to this, there are 7, I guess, twists to it. 10 twists, and I just finished number 7. So I'm getting there. That's how much I have left to go in the cable. And then there is a border that goes all along the bottom here, and I'm going to do that in...
I was like, oh my gosh, you're almost done with the cable, then you're done with the shawl.
No, this is about half of it, and then the bottom section is going to be done. It's a series of wedges too. I'm going to use this for one of the wedges, and then I'm also going to use.
Now this is the one you used up here,
because I love how. It was a complete accident because I didn't have enough Quidditch pitch to run out. But I love how the top one just sort of pops up against this and then puts a really nice contrast to this. So the way this shawl works is there's a bunch of wedges, and then the bottom border is done with this Carolina Fiber Ghouls thing. So the bottom is like a series of 4 wedges. So I'm going to do the final wedge in this. It's a doodler shawl. It's nuts. And then
you mean it's a Stephen West?
Stephen West also. And then I'm going to do the bottom going up into that in this Madeline Tosh.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to open.
Well,
this.
you can't. It might make more sense to take a picture of it because I think the light's not.
Because it's got this amazing, like, it's dark, but it's. It's gonna bring out. What's gonna bring out
it
is
looks like it's overdyed.
Right. It's gonna just bring out the dark.
Because there's green and orange and blue and gray and brown.
Yeah.
But when I hold it up, it looks black.
Yeah.
So I might need to take a picture.
And that's why I think it'll look really good.
Yeah.
Next, if I do the wedges, it's gonna look just fabulous. Yeah. Anyway,
you want to redo that?
I don't want to do that. So anyway, this is I said I'm almost done with the cable section, and then I start the final section. So this has really been super fun. I think it's going to be my keep myself warm at work shawl.
Yeah.
When I'm done, but great fun. And this is the cables here are basically they are cables that involve like 36 stitches. So you're basically taking 18 stitches and moving them to the back and crossing them over. So it's this huge. It doesn't really quite do it justice how much fun it is.
It turned out weird.
Yeah. So anyway, that is my doodler shawl. Yeah, super fun. It's one of those shawls. I think it's for people with a little bit of. It's this nice combination of sort of stuff you can sort of just not pay attention to in knit, but it also mixes things up enough that it keeps it exciting.
Yeah.
So that is on its way. I'm very excited about that.
Cool. So, why don't I talk about my...
Right, is that enough talking about that, or should we cut off?
Yeah, I don't know if that was an obvious enough. I'm talking now, segue. So, okay, we're back. We refreshed our beverages. I got a failed project from upstairs that I wanted to show people. But I just remembered that best laid plans. I think I've talked about this before, but I have all these great ideas, and then the follow through and execution sometimes is a little lacking. I forgot that I had wanted to get into the habit of responding to comments on the YouTube video at the top of the show, and I forgot to prepare for that and print them out. So we will take care of that in our next podcast. Responses to both.
To be fair, if we did, so one of the things about having space between your podcasts is we have a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
if we did responses, it would be like 3 hours.
Well, and I am going to do the thing where I put in the description the link to where you can jump past that if you don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, sorry guys, forgot. So I'm doing some socks, and I'm doing them for a friend as a gift, and I'm using the Pixel Rise pattern. I forget who the Pixel Rise pattern is, but oh, you know what? I think I got it right here. Or maybe it's upstairs. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't have it here. Finished a sock. It's a huge sock. It's got a red toe. I can't put the sock on. And did I talk about that last time?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so I finished the sock. I can't put the sock on because I can't get it past my heel.
Kind of same.
And
maybe you just got like...
No,
so
here's the problem. I did 64 stitches, which is my normal. The person who I'm doing it for has a similar sized foot to me. The stitches are... I did 64 stitches. I did not knit when I did the color work sections. I did not go up a needle size, nor did I knit on the outside, or knit inside out, which is what people have recommended that I do. And so I can't get the damn thing on. There's no amount of washing or blocking or whatever that's going to save this. So I ended up now having a sock that I can't wear.
It's a sock puppet.
It's a sock puppet. So the other thing is oh
my gosh.
Yeah, it's so tight.
How low?
Yeah, you're not. You've got it on. If it's going to be a sock puppet, you're like bending its head backwards the wrong way. That's its mouth. Have you never played with a sock puppet?
Wow. So like it's like this, and this is time like
yes.
Hello, my name is Scott's puppet friend.
Yes, that's awesome. So take that off. You're irritating the crap out of me. So the what I decided to do, so I took the advice of people, and I am doing it again. I'm doing the stripes shorter this time, and I'm doing the color work inside out, and I went up to 72 stitches. So I think knitting it inside out, it's not puckering like that sock does. And so I went up to 72 stitches. So I think between those two things, I do want to take the advice that people have given about when you're doing a color work section going up a needle size. I don't really have the needles to do that. But I think between adding 8 stitches and then also knitting it inside out to make the floats looser is going to make a big difference. I am turning it right side in when I'm knitting the... Would you take that damn sock puppet off? When I'm doing the solid sections. So, and then what I plan to do is once I get to purple, I'm going to put the heel in. I haven't decided if I'm going to do an afterthought heel or if I'm going to do a John. People don't think this is funny. They think this is irritating as hell. I did a poll, and everybody thinks this is irritating. I just did a poll. You didn't see me do it, but I did it. Take this off. So, once I get to purple, I'm going to do the heel, and then I'm going to do the heel in red, and then I'm going to do the foot in black, and then do the toe in red. So that's what we's going to do, because this sock was a fail. So I've learned some things there. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was,
do you have the best thing being married is?
We're pausing. Hang on. Okay, we're back. I had to give John a stern talking to because he's being so immature. Actually, that's not what I did. I had to go upstairs and get something. But Betty Ann had bought me some flexi flips. That's what they're called, aren't they?
Sure.
They're those needles that they come in a set of 3, and they're needles with they're made by Addy, and there's a little bitty cable in the middle, and so one side of the needle has the Addy. Wait, is it Addy? That doesn't sound right. Sharps. Okay, now I can't even remember who made the needles. Doesn't matter. I'll put it on the screen. Correct myself like I always do. One's got the sharp tip, one side, and the other has a blunter tip. And so these are in the... let's use our little wooden thing to measure what size these are, because I forget what size Betty Ann bought me. But they're the size, I think it's 1.5. No, they're ones. 2.25, that's right. They're ones, 2.25. So that's the size that I use to knit socks typically. She bought them for me because basically, and Very Pink Knits does a good review of them. Are you sitting there looking? Are you paying attention to my riveting description of things, or are you too busy? Did we interrupt your ravelry?
I was looking up something that I would talk about later, so there would be dead space when I was looking it up. But no, I was super listening.
I'm gonna have to cut it out when you do dead space listening.
Can I look this up?
Go to where you were.
Okay.
As you were. So the thing about these,
I'm actually commenting on our webcast how mean you are to me the whole time.
You're sending out signals to people. Help me, save me. It's like knitting magic loop, but without the extra cable.
Oh.
Is what it's like.
Interesting.
But I haven't told Betty Ann this yet. I like them, but I don't think I'll use them that much. And the reason for that is, I really wanted to try them, and I'm glad that she bought them for me.
You know what's funny? This is actually the most effective way to communicate with your mother.
It's through your YouTube channel.
Because, the minute it goes up, she'll be up and responding.
That's true. That's true. I'll actually get her to listen to me for once. That's how all family problems are solved, is by communicating through YouTube. It's like knitting with magic loop, but the problem is, and I knit... Where's that sock I was working on? I knit almost all of this, including the color work, with the flexi flip needles. I am so much faster on 9-inch circulars, and I know some people don't like those, but I am so much faster on. And the other thing is, with the 9-inch circulars, you don't get laddering, and I've gotten some weird ass laddering with these, and I struggle with magic loop even, because it's like, I don't know if you're not supposed to pull it tight, or you are supposed to pull it tight, but I ended up some areas where it's like there is laddering, and then other areas where there isn't laddering. And the other thing is that you've got these 2 needles. Normally you have one needle, and then you've got a bunch of cable when you're doing magic loop. The problem is, when you're doing with these, you're starting the next round, you've got this other needle that's poking you, rather than it being a bunch of cable. So, yeah, I think, my opinion...
So, question.
Well, just a second. My opinion is that these will be great for knitting hats. I think that if you had hat size needles, like what do you knit hats on, like a 5 or a 6?
Yeah,
or
5, 6, 7. Yeah.
If you had these, and I know that was one of the purpose of them is it's kind of an alternative to Magic Loop, I think. If you did I think it would be great for hats. For socks, I'll never get away from the 9-inch circulars because I can do everything so much faster on that.
So like maybe if you'd never, so if you're just learning and you never used DPNs, you've never done 9 circulars, this would be like really good because they're supposed to replace DPNs, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's like a cross between DPNs and Magic Loop.
Right.
Because you don't have the 5 needles. I mean, it is easier. I will say, it is easier than using DPNs.
Because you don't have to transfer from one to another. You can just have the whole work on it.
Well, no, you have to have the whole work on 2.
Oh.
And then you use the third one to knit. So, yeah. I don't know. I probably... I mean, I gotta talk to Betty Ann about if she wants to try them or, what we want to do. Because I've got some ideas of what we can do with the needles to allow other people to try them and use them, since I'm probably not going to. The other thing I should mention is that she bought me a Swift, and we haven't put it upstairs yet, but it's a... Is it I think they call it like an Amish Swift. It's from Chowgu, and it's... The thing I like about it...
Have you used it yet? No.
Well, she has one, and I've used hers before.
Okay.
But basically, the way that it works is you have a base, and then... And I know people have seen these before, but... You put it together, and then you stretch the yarn out, and you've got pegs. And you can... decide how
much tension you want.
And it's really low. It's only like this far off the table. We've got I think they're called umbrella style Swift, which works great for us, but I really like this wooden. The one that I bought was cheap, and I bought it off Amazon, and it's metal and plastic, and it's neon green colored, and I like the wooden. I like that it can be broken down really easily, and we can take it, like if we wanted to take it somewhere, like to a retreat or something. So yeah, I really like that. She got me that Swift. So I kind of blathered on about that. This is going to be the longest podcast ever because we've got like tons of stuff to talk about still. So anyway, I think I talked about that at the sock.
You made it the shorter stripes.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit.
I wasn't listening.
Obviously you weren't. So what I'm doing is the colorwork section in the pixel rise pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 rounds, and then I'm doing 10 rows of the color. And then I'm doing I did a 2x2 rib at the top in the red, and then I'm doing the different colors with the pixel rise colorwork sections in between, which I'll do a closer up picture. Then I'm gonna do purple, then do the foot in black. Just because the foot's
Does
not.
it feel looser when you sort of?
Oh yeah, it's not puckering at all.
Right. So there's,
see that?
Yeah. So you can. There's give.
There's give. And the other thing is I went up to 72 stitches. So I think this is going to work great.
I like the shorter stripe
Stripes,
a lot.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
Yeah. All right. What work in progress do you have?
I have... What do I have? I have many works in progress. We were,
Yeah.
So just today I was like looking around and trying to find, what was I trying to find? Something. And I started going through all our project bags that we have, artfully
The
arranged.
ladder of
project
bags.
And I'm like, good lord. There's all kinds of stuff that is in progress.
I have talking about that, I think I am coming to realize about myself that I prefer to be a monogamous knitter, except that I like to have socks going as well.
I think my ideal is having 3 projects.
Really?
So one which is I can take on the bus and do that. One which is kind of a... We can actually go through that. So one which is kind of a fun learning one, which I really like. So the doodler shawl for me is that where I'm like, you know, doing it is like a kind of stretch in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I'm always sort of picking stuff up. And then I like having a fast knit that I'm making a lot of progress on.
I just thought of something.
What?
Sorry, Spud. The yarn that I'm doing for this is Spud and Chloe.
Oh, right.
Which is by Blue Sky Fibers. And it's silk and wool. I love the colors, love the yarn. It's got great stitch definition, which is important for the pixel rise pattern. I just want to mention that. Sorry.
So anyway, that's so anyway, we have a lot of works in progress, but the ones that I'm currently working on, so I will pull out my yarn knitting. I mean my bust knitting. So this is also, I've talked about this before, and I started it a while ago, and then...
What is that fancy project bag?
It's by our friend Nurse Cody.
Nurse Cody, that makes really nice bags. He gave us some more when we were in Atlanta, actually.
Yeah.
He gave us this really awesome one that has like a guy with mustaches and stuff.
Yeah.
But
so what I like about this is I really...
But he does a really good job.
He does a really good job.
He talks about the fact that he doesn't like the quality, so he doesn't want to sell them. But I think.
Well, I like the window, so I can remember what's going on.
And we've got several of ones that he's made now, and we love.
So this is I bought this stuff a while ago, actually with a gift card Betty Ann gave me for my birthday. So this is it's a striped sweater vest from Blue Sky Fibers. And it's being done in Blue Sky Fibers, so that was why I thought about it. And I'm just starting out on it. So this is the...
Oh, I forgot about these.
Yeah. So this... Oh, yarn, why are you being such a pain? Anyway, stop it! This will all be edited out, I hope.
Not if you're mean to me.
Yeah, good luck on that. So anyway, this is just the bottom rib of the sweater vest. And it's gonna be striped. So this is the sort of main color, and this right here is gonna be the contrasting color. And so it's a nice 2x2 rib. It's funny. I started this over Christmas, and I don't know what was going on. If it was just like too much hot chocolate and candy. But literally, this thing was giving me... I couldn't get it done. I kept like having miscounted stitches.
Yeah, it's that thing people talk about where when you're doing a bottom-up sweater, you can't measure... so you can't put it on and measure and see if you need to knit more, first of all. But the other thing is you have to cast on 5,000 stitches.
Yeah, this is 228 stitches. I actually cast on 224, which I just found out.
Oh.
But just fine. I'll just when I get to the sweater section, I'll add 4 stitches. Like this has also taught me to be a little more relaxed about that kind of stuff. Like it's all okay. But yeah, it's going really well. I like.
Yeah, and it actually will be fine because the rib section you want to pull in a little anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I will probably. So yeah, this is my sweater vest. As you can see, I've got a lot done on it. So I'm hoping to have it done by November is my goal. But once it gets done with the rib, it'll go pretty quickly because it's just straight on stuck in it the whole time. And I'll knit that inside out Portuguese. So,
cool.
And I forget, this is like eggplant. This is oatmeal. I can't remember the colorways.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working.
But it's baby alpaca.
Yes, it's baby alpaca. So it's a little... I love baby alpaca, but it is slippery.
Yeah.
So that's...
Especially with metal needles.
Yeah. So, but I really... It's so soft and so pretty.
Oh yeah, that's it makes.
And it's also a little different because I don't know if you'll have noticed this, like, I tend to gravitate towards yarns that are more like this. So
meaning the crazy colors?
Meaning the crazy colors with different, like, the copper corgi stuff is a good example. Like, I really liked the stuff that it's, like, over-dyed and it goes transition to different colors. And so I don't have a lot of stuff in these sort of solid colors. So I'm liking that a lot.
Yeah. So one of the things about alpaca that I've heard is that it doesn't have memory.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know if alpaca is different than baby alpaca, but, or de-haired alpaca. I mean, I think technically I know what the different words mean, but how they behave, I don't know. So I just watched, or I guess we just watched I thought it was a really good video by Arnie and Carlos, where they talk about how they take care of things, how they take care of their garments in Norway. And he one of the things they talked about, they don't do the thing where they soak it in soapy water, and then they lay it out on blocking mats and pin it. They steam block. And so one of the things I'm wondering about with your sweater vest is when it comes time to finish it, if it would make more sense because it's alpaca. Because the thing is, if it's alpaca and you wet it and you hold it up and it stretches, and it gets wonky in the shape,
right? It's not
gonna go back. And so it's not like, I don't think with alpaca you can pin it. What I've heard is that you can't pin it and let it have memory like wool can. So it might make more sense to do the thing where they have the wet towel,
the steam blocking,
and steam it.
Yeah.
The only thing about that I didn't quite understand was, if you do, how do you wash the garment? I mean, because I'm an American, like, throw everything in the washing machine kind of person. I guess
would you? I mean,
because I got the impression they never submerge the garment all the way into water. So how do you, like, if you spilt something on it, how do you clean it? Maybe I'll ask Arnie and Carlos that question. I think they like questions, but if you guys don't know Arnie and Carlos, they're great. They're YouTubers, but I mean they're professional designers and another thing I wanted to mention kind of randomly is that a couple things about other YouTubers. We've got some more projects to talk about, right? But in between, I wanted to mention that, first of all, Cody Knits podcast, our friend Cody, we've talked about a few times. He has a knit-along going on right now, and I will be honest, I have not watched the latest episode, so I don't know all of the details, but Biddy Ann told me about it, and I'm planning to participate. My understanding is that, because he's an oncologic nurse practitioner, so he works with cancer patients, and he's doing a knit-along to donate hats to the Cancer Centers of America where he works, so that the cancer patients, hats for the cancer patients, the ones that have lost their hair through chemo and stuff like that. And I think he's planning on it going through like the end of August or something. And I was like, okay, I don't understand, because it's summer in Atlanta. Like, people aren't, and Betty Ann set me straight, and it's like, he's doing it as it's going into the fall. And people with compromised immune systems can feel cold anyway. So I think that, it's for winter, and it does get, below freezing in Atlanta and stuff.
Well, and also, half the problem with living in the South is not the winter, it's the air conditioning.
It's the air conditioning, that's right.
So, like, in August, you go inside and, things are air conditioned to all get out, so.
Right.
Anyway.
So I'm planning on knitting a hat for that. And so I just wanted to mention it for those of you who are interested. He's Nurse Cody on Ravelry. Is he Nurse Cody on Ravelry? Or is he Cody Nets on Ravelry? I can't remember.
I could look it up, but that'd be disrespectful.
You better focus. Right here. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to mention, this is a little self-serving, but...
it's our podcast.
It is our podcast, yeah. Is that the Bakery Bears, who are like my favorite, one of my favorite podcasts, they do the thing where they have, what's it called when people...
Patreon?
Patreon. They have Patreon, and so if you're a patron of theirs, you get special episodes and tutorials and patterns and things like that. One of the things that you get is this, they do a great magazine called Knitability. And so Knitability, the most recent issue of Knitability came out to their patrons, and I actually wrote an article that was included in Knitability. So I wrote the article. John did an amazing job of editing it for me, and helping punch it up a little bit for me. And so it was included in the latest episode of Knitability, and it's kind of focused around the Minnesota shop hop as the structure of what I talk about, but it's more about what it's like to be a male knitter and
well, and I think the other thing that you really talk about, and I appreciate, is just the fact that the way that just the fact of when you start knitting, you join this kind of community that I think Scott, we've tried this before. Like I have a bunch of people who I knit with at work, and we have a knitting thing, and like we always stop by and share projects, and that's something like. Sure, I'd probably be friends with them anyway, but it's just a really it's like instant connection, right?
Yeah. When I was in Washington D.C. and flying back to Minneapolis, I was knitting a sock, and there was a woman sitting next to me, and she's like, "Are you knitting a sock?" And I said, "Yes." And she's like, "I knit," but she's like, "I never have gotten the handle of DPNs, of double pointed needles." And so she said, "I retired yesterday," and I said, "Congratulations." And so one of the first things she wanted to do in her retirement was knit. Learn how to use double-pointed needles, and so I told her, I said, well, I don't think using double-pointed needles are particularly difficult. The part that I think she was struggling with was the concept of casting onto double-pointed needles, and I was like,
don't know.
It just, you cast on 16 stitches, well, 16 for the sock I was doing, and then you just stick the next needle in. I mean, it's like, I know there, and I told her, I said there's lots of YouTube videos and stuff like that. I don't know that I ever learned, like nobody ever taught me how to cast on with the double pointed needles. I just was like, how would this work? And so I just stuck the needle in and kept going, and it worked.
I think what's nice about casting on double pointed needles for the knitting in the round is I found the 2 times I've done it. So
you're a master.
I got this
expert.
Now. I found it because you have the needles, you have the stitches on like these hard needles, is that it getting twisted, you're less likely to get a twist in it.
That's a good point. I have found, because the Rose City Roller pattern I always do on double pointed needles, and you're right.
Yeah.
I don't have the same problem as if I'm doing it on casting on the 9-inch circulars.
Right.
Yeah.
What I like is, what was the thing I was doing where, I can't remember. Like, I don't like starting on double-pointed needles. Actually, I don't like double-pointed needles at all. They're not my favorite.
Okay, sorry. I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
But, like, they're fine when I've got a project going and I have to put it on them.
Yeah. There's something about the combination of the rainbow... I forget what they're called. I think they're by Knit Picks. They're the rainbow wood double-pointed needles, the sock size ones. There's something about the combination of those needles and the Rose City Roller pattern...
And that works really well.
...that I just love. I love knitting that pattern with those needles.
Well, I feel like my whole thing with double point needles is not that, like, once you get going, it's fine. It's that whole accidentally pulling the wrong needle out.
That is awful.
Which is terrible, and then if you don't have, if your yarn doesn't hold well, you are...
It's slippy at all.
It's disaster.
That's so true. I forget how it happens, but I do that, where I'm going along and then I think I'm picking up the needle that I just finished using, or that I just took the stitches off of to start knitting with it, and I yank and I pull the needle that's got all the stitches on it.
Yeah. And
it's a nightmare. But to your point about the yarn that's not slippy, if you've got sturdier wool, the loops stay, and it's easier to stick the needle back into the loops, so the stitches don't drop.
And I've also had, for the Christmas nightmare, that's what happened. Is it was
with the hat.
With the hat, it was double pointed needles. They were bamboo, so they're really slick, and it was baby alpaca, so it was also really slick.
No, it was regular alpaca.
No, it was baby alpaca.
Oh, okay.
And it, I basically turned my hat over and, they just slid off.
Oh, that's right. You didn't even pull it off. It just slid out.
So,
yeah.
Anywho.
All right, so we talked about that stuff. I have a sweater vest that I'm working on. I haven't stopped working on it. It's not in timeout. I just got sock fever, so I'm not going to show that right now. I've made progress on it. I finished the rib.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to John's in that it has a 2x2 rib at the bottom, and I'm using Bare Naked Wool's yarn, and it's a Jared Flood pattern.
Mm-hmm.
It was released by Brooklyn Tweed. And so I'm into it's a bottom up, and I'm into the section of the body where it's a fun textured thing. And so I've started that section, but I don't have it out, and I'd rather show it when there's more to it. So let's talk about your test knit.
This is super fun. So I was minding my own business on social media.
Okay. Technically, when you're using social media, you're not minding your own business. I just want to point that out.
No. Anyway, and one of our friends on social media, his name, he goes by Blunt Knitter on Ravelry, but his store is under
Thomas, right?
Todd Michael Thomas.
Todd Michael Thomas
is his store in Ravelry. So he messaged me on Instagram, and he's like,
he DM'd you technically.
Whatever.
He slid into your DMs.
That sounds disgusting.
Well, that's what they call. That's what the kids these days call it. He slid into your DMs.
That sounds so gross. I don't know what that is. That just sounds disgusting.
That's like when a guy wants to get with a girl and he finds a smooth way to contact her. He slid into her DMs.
Sounds disgusting.
Direct message.
I know. I know what it stands for. It just sounds gross. Anyway, he actually messaged both of us and said, "Hey,
he slid into both of our DMs."
Stop that! Don't say that anymore. It's disgusting. And he had a pattern that he wanted someone to test knit, and he asked if one of us could do it, and I said yes, I could. And so basically,
I'm gonna look at your phone while you talk. Keep going.
It's my phone. You can look at your own phone while I talk.
Well, my phone's being used to make the film. Make the film. Make the video. Anyway, go ahead.
So anyway, he had this pattern, and he sent me a copy of the pattern, and he's like, "Oh, when do you want it done?" He said, "You'd like to get out this weekend." So I started it on Thursday, and it's almost done. I'm basically to the decreases.
I cannot wait to knit this.
So. And it was really fun because I'd never tested anything before, and it's a hat, and it's called a Niflheim. Sorry, hat. Niflheim. So it's based off of the characters from the Thor stuff, and Hela, who was Kate Blanchett in the latest in Ragnarok.
Ah.
So. Really, really fun. It's almost done, and this is what
what
it looks like. I love it. So, and I don't know if you remember, and the yarn I'm using is this yellow yarn that I think I talked about the other day, not knowing what to do with it.
So, in a previous episode, he bought that yarn, and we were trying to figure out
what to do with it. And it's called Sunset Morning, and it's by Tripping with Dixie Fiber Company, who is a local knitter. She is one of the...
Local dyer.
She's probably also a local knitter.
She's probably a local knitter.
But she owns with her sister Lila and Claudine's, or she's the sister of one of the owners of Lila and Claudine's.
Yes, I think she's the sister of the owner of Lila and Claudine's, but Lila and Claudine are the names of their grandmothers.
Right. So anyway, I was trying to figure out something to do with this bright yellow, and this pattern, which is just so cool, just seemed like a real natural fit for it. And the gray is just a gray that I've had lying around for a while, and that is shepherd's wool, Stonehenge fiber mill from Michigan, and the color is granite. So anyway, those are the yarns. They look great together, and just the color work is so cool. It's got this sort of like, I like it because it's definitely got that sort of feeling of sort of science fiction, but also runic. It's just so cool. Anyway, it was really fun to knit up. It was a quick knit because I basically did it all yesterday.
The thing I want to point out about the yarn, first of all, I love the color work. I cannot wait to knit this.
Well, and what I loved about it is it's you can sort of see like the picture changes as it goes up. So like each little row was like what it's gonna look like now.
But the yarn, the yellow yarn, it has these variations. I mean, you look at this and it's like, oh, that's bright yellow. But as you're knitting it and using it in the color work, it's everything from a very pale yellow to like a goldenrod.
Right.
There's these variations in the yellow that you don't really see when it's caked up like this. And it makes it even cooler. Because the granite is a very solid...
Right.
And it's just awesome.
So it was really fun. And it was just really... It was... Alright, this is what I compare it to. It's like getting like a review copy of a book. Because you're getting to knit this pattern and like... No one's seen it yet. But it's actually... So, and I had a couple of quick notes. But otherwise, cute little things that I saw that could be... edited or whatever, but yeah, and it's up on his page right now. It's Todd Michael Thomas on Ravelry. Super fun.
So it's available for people to purchase.
It is
now?
available for people to purchase right now.
That's cool.
So if you want a Niflheim hat, I mean, come on, but it was, and again, so much fun.
I want to do it in like
in the
I want to do like a blue.
You could do. So I almost did
like maybe a dark blue with a light blue for the color work.
Yeah, I almost
because I have that blue yarn by Dye Monkey Yarns by Jessie that I really want to use for something, and I think it's because this is worsted. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a worsted pattern.
Yeah.
So I mean, I bet you could do it in a smaller yarn and then.
Oh yeah. As long as you sort of swatched it a little bit.
How big? How long is the repeat? How long is the repeat?
What do you mean? 18.
18 stitches. Okay.
So yeah, you could do that, and it was really fun. What else? So I knit it. Please don't fall off the needles. So I knit it like I do all my color work. Inside out, backwards, Portuguese knitting. So
inside out, backwards, standing on my head, Portuguese knitting.
Pretty much. So again, like I would actually, I mean, probably it's a bit of a waste to have that, but I just love how floats look.
You've got really clean floats on that too.
Well, some of them are cleaner than others. The ones that So it was super fun again. Basically, I knit the rib on Thursday and Friday. On Friday, and then did the color work section. It was a rainy, crappy day yesterday. So I did pretty much all of this yesterday. So it's a fast, fun knit. I wish it were not going on July, because I want to wear it.
Yeah.
So, and all I've got to do is a little bit of the decrease and stuff like that. And it was also fun because you have to figure out when you're doing Portuguese knitting or knitting on the wrong side as I do this. You have to sort of translate some of the decreases. So I actually figured out how to do a right left-leaning decrease. The equivalent of slip knit in Portuguese knitting. Thank you, Very Pink Knits. There's also a center.
I'm convinced that Stacy from Very Pink Knits can do anything.
Well, she can do anything and then describe it perfectly.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what I meant.
So anyway, it was really fun. I actually Todd and I talked today. It was really fun. I said I never test knit, so it's not that hard. You just follow the pattern.
Well, I think the hard part is knitting fast enough and having the time to dedicate to it. Because like if you'd had a busy weekend, you wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
It just so happens that this ended up being a week that you had the time to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I would hate to volunteer to test knit something and then
not get it done in time.
Not get it done, yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, almost done. So I was hoping it would be a finished object by the time we podcast, but we went to go see a movie last night. So.
Yeah. We saw
Solo.
the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah. So, which is actually probably a good thing because, you know, sometimes you need to take a break from your knitting.
I guess. Every once in a while.
All
right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll respond to comments a little bit better next time, and we'll hopefully not wait too long before our next podcast.
Yep.
Yesterday was Knitting in Public Day, and John and I did not leave the house because it was raining all day. So we did not do any knitting in public, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we did not celebrate the Knitting in Public holiday.
No.
And is there anything else coming up for us, like trips or anything? I don't think so.
No.
Not really. The next, around Labor Day, my family always comes to visit, and that'll happen. And you're going to go visit your family in Colorado.
Yeah, just over the weekend in July, but that'll be about birthdays and nieces and nephews and not so much yarn shopping.
All right, so we'll see you guys again sometime soon. Thank you. Bye.